Hello, today we're going to be talking about Selenium IDE, automated testing tool. I will introduce you to what automation is, what Selenium company is, organization is, and what Selenium IDE can do for you. We're also going to be talking about installation issues, how to install the tool, where to get the right version, how to pay attention to the versioning structure, to compatibility issues, and we will run one or two instances of a test case. We'll try to automate at least one test case and talk about some of the GUI features. Where you're going to find information about Selenium IDE, on which I'm going to be based my presentation today. So what is test automation? It's a process of writing computer program to do testing that would otherwise need to be done manually. And it sounds simple enough, which it is, until you actually start implementing automated procedures using different tools. Selenium IDE is one of these tools, and we will be talking about what Selenium IDE can do for you. We use software to control the execution of tests, and that's very important part to understand, that majority of activities that are happening, especially in the area of time savings, are activities related to test execution. Even though there is a lot of time spent on designing and creating those automated tests. So it's two-part process. One is about creating those test scripts, automated test cases, and another part is execution of those tests. There are two different types of test automation: code-driven testing and graphical user interface testing. Code-driven testing requires tool to go directly to the code, and the tool or another type of software program drives what is happening within the code and the test. So there is no interface involved for the application. There is no tool with a graphical user interface like Selenium IDE involved in code-driven testing. That's kind of a rule. Of course, there are exceptions and different type of approaches. But majority of the automated testing of the code-driven procedures are based on actual language or scripts that go directly into the code and exercise certain conditions within the code. It's a completely different approach when we start looking at automation from the GUI perspective. There are quite a few tools that help you test application from the user standpoint, from the graphical user interface level, which is a black box testing if we start referring to the type of testing using manual testing terminology. Selenium IDE is a tool that allows you to do graphical user interface testing. It's a tool that goes into application under test, mimicking actions of a user on the GUI level. So in many cases, Selenium IDE, just like any other tool, will allow user to pretty much do the same set of steps, execute the same type of conditions as would manual user do without any tools. So what are the advantages of automation? First of all, it's a reliable approach to testing. Tests perform precisely the same set of operations every time they run. Therefore, you are eliminating human error. You're getting rid of this human error element which present during every test execution effort, which is causing on many levels and many times fairly serious problems with test results. You see test results that are different depending on who is executing those test cases and how well person understands the actual application. Automated tests are repeatable. You can test how software reacts under repeated execution of the same operation. You can repeat this operation as many times as you want. And we will look today at the operation, at the test case that I'm planning to demonstrate for you, and run it multiple times, as many times as you want it to be. And your results are expected to be fairly reliable due to the fairly defined structure of your test script. Your test scripts are fairly reusable. You can reuse them if you create a structure, predefined structure for your test scripts. You're going to have smaller pieces of automated scripts, smaller pieces of functionality automated using the tool, and later on you can put those pieces together, reuse them in different combinations, in different test cases, in different type of tests, in different kind of situations when you need to generate, for example, certain type of test data. There is a speed of the automated test execution that is very important as well. Though I want to warn you that when you talk about speed of test execution in automation, you have to remember that you're only talking about making tests executed much faster. In many cases, and it's pretty much a rule of the thumb, that creating a manual test script takes way longer than creating a manual test case. And creating automated test scripts is a very tedious process that at the end, in many cases, is not flexible, while creating a test cases might be a slightly faster process, much more flexible because human can adjust to a variety of the conditions. But test execution is very long when we talk about only comparing test execution process of the manual test cases and automated test cases. So you definitely have speed savings when you speed of the test execution for automated test cases is much faster than execution of manual test cases. But in terms of creating those scripts, it's in many cases it takes longer to create automated scripts compared to manual test cases. As a result of automation, you expect better quality of the software and significant cost reduction because you're not spending that much resources and money on test execution. So what is Selenium? After reviewing what automation in general is and advantages of having automated tool, we are moving into very specific type of tool. We're talking about Selenium. So Selenium is actually not one tool, it's a set of tools. It's a set of tools that supports rapid development of test automation for web-based application. So it's very important that you have a really good understanding that this tool was designed and created for automation of testing of web-based applications. Specifically, applications that run on Firefox browsers, on Mozilla group of browsers. We already talked about approach that Selenium scripts are taking. They're not code-driven tests, they're GUI-based tests. So Selenium tool allows user to mimic the actions of a black box tester, approach testing from the GUI interface, and record those actions. So scripts can be recorded and they will be written as a result as HTML scripts. Important that you remember that because our scripts that we save will be saved with the extension of HTML format. In addition to HTML, which is the original format of Selenium IDE scripts, when you start moving into other tools outside of Selenium IDE that are still part of the Selenium set of tools, you will see that they're pretty much majority of the commonly used languages like Java, C#, Perl, PHP, Python, Ruby are being supported by Selenium group of tools. Not through Selenium IDE, but through another set of Selenium tools. Selenium set of tools also provides support for various browsers, i.e. Firefox, Opera, Safari, and Google Chrome. I will give you a full list of supported browsers, and I will show you where to find this information. It also supports execution of the test cases on various platforms, Windows, Linux, and Macintosh. A little bit of a history about Selenium. It's a fairly new tool, even though it's been on the market from 2004, and it was originally named JavaScript Functional Tester. It has 100% JavaScript and HTML functionality written only in these two languages, which limits Selenium IDE in many cases. And when I will conduct a demo of the tool, you will see where those limitations are. It's an open source. It's also very important to remember because this tool has quite a few various issues, but it's also great to have an open source tool because additional features, very useful functionalities are being introduced to Selenium IDE on a regular basis. It's an open source software that was released under Apache 2.0 license and can be downloaded without charge. It's also under ThoughtWorks kind of license and under the umbrella. That's the name. ThoughtWorks is the name of the organization that handles open source software development. This slide shows you on the high level where selenium is located when we talk about selenium as a chemical element. And just a few words about the history of selenium. I think that you heard about tools that were developed by the company that was called Mercury Interactive. It's a company that was developing software tools to test software that were very similar to what Selenium is right now. The difference is that these tools were and are still stay fairly expensive. So Selenium was developed as an antidote of mercury because Selenium is actually an element that treats mercury poisoning. So I mentioned a few various tools within the Selenium group of tools. Selenium IDE is the one that we will be talking about today. Selenium IDE has additional tools that support functionality that I described to you earlier, but they're being run and executed using another tool, Selenium RC, which stands for remote control. R stands for remote, C stands for control. So Selenium RC allows additional, more robust functionality of automated testing tool. Selenium Core tool works with Selenium RC and it now allows displaying and presenting test results information in a very easy to read and understand form. And Selenium Grid is kind of advanced tool that allows configuration with various types of technology for some fairly advanced tasks. So we're going to start with Selenium IDE and learn about what this tool is about. It's the first tool that was developed as part of Selenium tools, and it has a very specific purpose. First of all, I want to explain what Selenium IDE is, and very often it's being referred to as SIDE. So Selenium IDE is Selenium Integrated Development Environment. I stands for integrated, D stands for development, E stands for environment. It's a Firefox add-on. And I think that at this point you kind of understood that there's something that needs to be set up and something that needs to be reviewed before the tool can actually support multi-browser testing, because I mentioned several times that it's a tool that was created for testing web applications. But also you know that Selenium IDE is the tool that is coming from the Firefox. It's a Firefox add-on, and this add-on allows you to record, edit, and debug your tests. Selenium IDE provides an easy-to-use interface for developing and running individual test cases or entire test suites. And test suites are being treated very differently in any kind of automated tool. As a general rule, it's much more defined concept of test suites and much more inflexible compared to flexibility with the test suites when we think about them in terms of manual testing. Selenium IDE scripts in the companies mostly are used to record and kind of define certain types of functionalities of the application and later on run them against Selenium RC. And that's very important to remember because, as I said, majority of the companies use Selenium IDE as a first step in their automated testing procedures. So majority of the companies will use Selenium IDE only to define certain things for their automated tests and later on actually complete the whole automated testing process through Selenium RC, remote control. So what can Selenium IDE do? One more time, it can record, playback, and edit. This technique is being called record and playback, and this is exactly what we're going to do in a few minutes after we go through the process of installing the tool. Again, very important to remember, this is the first step in the whole automated testing process. You need the ability to record, play back, and edit your scripts fairly easily and quickly, and Selenium IDE allows you to do that. The most important part of Selenium IDE is the ability of this tool to intelligently identify components of the page, identify object IDs, names, location using XPath, locator strategy, just information about elements on your page. And that's the biggest value of Selenium IDE, intelligent identification of the components of your page and your elements under test. Other very convenient feature. It has this autocomplete functionality for the user to review, locate, and use Selenium commands. It allows you to walk through your test cases and test suites, and it has quite a few very basic debug and set breakpoints features. Again, remember that Selenium IDE is IDE, Integrated Development Environment. You can save tests as HTML. You can export as other supported programming languages. Again, very important feature, keeping in mind that Selenium IDE is the first step in the overall automated testing structure, where your tests will be started in Selenium IDE in HTML format, and later on they will be exported into other programming languages. You have ability to extend functionality of Selenium using user extensions, which is also a great addition to Selenium 4 functionality. And now we're going to be moving into how to install Selenium IDE. It's important that you understand that you have the right version of Firefox. I did mention several times that Firefox is a browser that is required to work with Selenium IDE. So we should have Firefox installed, but not any kind of Firefox. We need Firefox 3.3 installed on the computer. Any versions 4 point something, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, or anything that come out after this presentation will not be supported by the version of Selenium that I will demo today. There are new developments, there are new features, there is new functionality in Selenium IDE. This tool is very popular, and this tool needs to accommodate all advanced features of software development, web application development. But because it's an open source, there are quite a few features that are not fully reliable and fully compatible between different versions of the browsers, tools, and the actual application. So it's very important that you remember that the version of the Firefox that we will be using is 3.6. That's the only version of Firefox that will be working with the version of the Selenium IDE application. We have a link here provided for you to be able to locate Firefox 3.6 version, so you can later on download specifically that version. You don't necessarily have to go to old apps application. There are quite a few other places where you can locate this application, but you absolutely have to have Firefox 3.6. I have an installation instructions here in case you need them. I'm not going to be going through them. Again, I will try to concentrate our attention only on the areas that are important for us to understand and review before you actually start doing it yourself. So once you verify that you have your Firefox 3.6, you're going to go to seleniumhq.org download, and I'm going to go with you. You're going to find yourself on this page on the download tab, and you're going to have quite a few options here. So what you need to do, you need to go to Selenium IDE section. Selenium IDE section will get updated most current version of Selenium IDE. As you can see, today is beginning of this December, and we just had a new version of Selenium IDE. You're welcome to use this one. It's fairly reliable, but my presentation and what I recommend is to use version 1.0.10, simply because this version is compatible with Firefox 3.6, and exercises that I will be showing you are based on the functionality of this version. Quite a few things, as I said, are being changed, and defaults are being switched from one to another based on what is happening on the market today, which is a good thing, but still application is not 100% tested and reliable in that regard. So we're trying to stick with the previous version. So how do you find this 1.010 version? Going back to Selenium IQ page, you're going to be in Selenium IQ download section, and as I said, you're welcome to try this one, but I will show you the version that is being used for your demos. So we're going to go to previous releases. We're going to go to the section that is called Selenium IDE. And now that you know that there are quite a few other parts of Selenium, you will recognize their names, and you will not go there. You will concentrate on Selenium IDE. It's going to present you a list of various versions here. So the one that I want you to have is 1.0.10. As I mentioned earlier, again, I'm going to repeat it. You're welcome to try any version after 1.0.10 within the previous versions released list. But the one that I will be using for my purposes is 1.0.10. So you're going to locate this version right here, somewhere close to the bottom of the list. You're going to install it. It's a fairly straightforward process, and then you're going to restart Firefox because you will need to change your settings. After you installed Firefox, after you install Selenium IDE on top of Firefox, under Tools, you're going to have a new link created. So this is your Firefox 3.6, and this is your Firefox 3.6 after you installed Selenium IDE. So you're going to have this option here, Selenium IDE, that is located right here. in this particular place under Tools menu. So when you click on Selenium IDE, it's going to bring up this little pop-up window for you. And we're going to be talking about this window and about Selenium IDE functionality. I'm going to demo you a few test cases, and we're going to proceed with recording and running Selenium tests.